Thanks, Chris. Coach, how much did you like the mix that Lonzo had last night? It seemed like at the beginning of the season, his first couple games, he took a ton of threes among the shots that he took, but last night he had fast break layups, mid-range shots. It just seems like he's adding so many different things to his game.
Yeah, Jim, he's playing great, and I think the real story with his increased aggressiveness is his improvement at the free throw line, because now, he's got the confidence to attack. I really think, and you've seen it. I've seen it with other players. You've seen it with other players. Guys who struggle at the line, they don't want to attack. They don't want to be there. And I think we saw that with Lonzo last year, right? And even early this year. But he's worked so hard, like he did on his three-point shooting last year with Fred, that his free throw shooting's gotten so much better. Now he's got the confidence to attack, and he's able to show that part of his game, whereas before he was reluctant to use it. So, yeah, he's doing a lot of things, but I think really what that comes back to is his free throw shooting. He's confident at the line now. And he's a guy who should be an 80% free throw shooter. I mean, I watch him every day. He's a hell of a shooter, and that's opening up the rest of his game.
Yeah, and this kind of sounds like a simple question, but what do you think makes Zion so good at getting all of the shots at the rim that he does consistently, knowing defenses want to stop him from doing it, and he still gets there?
I mean, he's really incredible in that regard, Will. Listen, there's no way as a coach you can teach what he does. First of all, we know how explosive he is and how strong he is, but he's got great agility, elusiveness, whatever you want to call it, to adjust and get by people and finish over bigger guys. I mean, it's an incredible talent, and he's very comfortable going to the basket. Now, the other thing is he's a very, very good ball handler and can get to where he needs to get to on the floor to take off and go at the rim and finish. So that's one skill I think of his that has maybe been underrated in the past and sets him up to be able to do those great things at the rim, though he had more ball handling errors last night by far than what we've seen in the past. I don't think we'll see much of that anymore.
Stan, JJ just kind of said he was shocked that, you guys had the best offense the last month and I think one of the worst defenses, not the worst defense, like just based on, I asked him, based on roster composition or whatever. Does those numbers kind of shock you too? Have you ever coached a team that's anywhere, in like built like this or playing in this style?
No. And, I think, the last 5 games have been better than the 11 games starting on the first 11 games of February were really horrendous defensively. That 3-game road trip, Chicago, Dallas, Detroit, I'm going to guess was the worst defensive road trip in the history of the NBA. I think all 3 teams scored over 130 per 100 possessions, all 3 of them. Dallas was 144, I want to say. So the first 11 games we struggled. We've gotten a little bit better in the last 5 games. I thought last night, and I think the numbers will support it, our half-court defense was good, very good against a very good offensive team, but we just weren't good in transition. So there's some things that we can clean up. The good part is, if our guys really want to focus and have a sense of urgency, there's some things like transition defense that we can clean up in a hurry. Other things may take more time, but there's some things we can do immediately tomorrow night to be better defensively. And, we've got a lot of room for improvement, and I think in some ways that's what gives you optimism. If we were already even a middle of the pack defensive team and you didn't see that room for improvement, you would start saying, well, how much room do they really have to improve? But I think the answer is a lot.
just real quick, I mean, Zion said he thought you guys were really close. I think he said that like 2 games in a row. He's like, I think we're really close. Is that something that you agree with? You think that assessment is like, and is that inspiring to hear that, or at least like help, like motivating in some way to hear your guys think that they're getting there?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think what has to follow that, Scott, is we're really close if. Like it's not just going to happen. So I think as long as we understand we're really close if we will do these things on a consistent basis, we're really close if we will have a greater sense of urgency defensively, we're really close if we'll start getting back all the time defensively. Those kind of things. I think it's good, and I think they're right, and I think it is. The optimism is good and warranted, but the if has to follow, and you have to do those things. They're not just going to happen.
Hey, Coach, this is Fletcher at NBC in New Orleans. I apologize because I have kind of a long-winded question because I talk a lot. After the Boston game, Zion referenced Theresa Witherspoon. He struggled in the first half. He said at halftime she had some encouraging words for him. He had a big second half. Last night, after the game, they seemed to have a moment. Do you see her voice resonating with him and even other players? And that kind of led me into another question. I think in San Antonio, people had talked about Becky Hammond, and people almost seem surprised now when the players talk about it's just a coach and the sex of the coach doesn't matter. Do you feel that that will become more of the norm with Zion and people talk about the connection they have and just the coaching ability of people like Theresa Witherspoon?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think that, look, I'll go back to when I first came to the NBA. I'd coached 14 years in college. And regardless of that, I remember going into my first training camp as an assistant coach with Pat Riley, and I was nervous as hell, going in with NBA players and guys that good. And I remember Pat saying to me, just go out and do your job. When they figure out you know what you're doing and you can help them, they'll listen to you. And I think that's how players are. I mean, I don't think that they give a damn the gender of the coach or the color of the coach or anything else. It's just, can you help me? Can you help me get better? Can you help our team win? And, these guys were around Spoon a little bit last year and now on an everyday basis this year. And they figured out very quickly that she knows what she's doing. She does, every fourth game plan like some of the other assistants and does the film with them and all of that. They figured out damn well that she knows what she's doing and can help them, and they will gravitate to people like that. And besides that, she's just a very upbeat, an intensely positive person. So I think a lot of times we think that there's intensity, and then there's people who are intense and there's people who are positive, but the real winners to me are the people who are intensely positive. And she's intense, engaged, but very positive, and I think the players definitely connect with her.
Hey, Coach, Andrew from ESPN. It seemed last night in that third that the offense really fed into the defense, and it kind of helped to get you guys going. I guess it's been like that a few times this year where the offense has kind of led to that. Is that at all concerning that sometimes it takes that to get the defense going, and if the offense isn't working, the defense kind of slacks off a little bit? I guess that's kind of where I'm going with that, if you get it.
I do. And one of the things that we've talked about, I think the best teams can win in a lot of different ways, and they can win on tough offensive nights with their defense and their rebounding and not beating themselves, and they can win when other teams are having a great offensive night with their offense. And right now, we are more one-sided. We need our offense to be really good, and I think we can take a lot of pressure off our offense if we can count on our defense every night. And right now, while we've had some very good stretches of defense, particularly in the last few games, it's not consistent enough. So I thought we played a good defensive game last night, but we didn't do a great job in transition. We played a good defensive game against Boston, but we've got to be able to count on that every single night, and we got to be able to count on it more consistently throughout a game. And that's something that I think the players all understand and believe. And, I don't think that we're saying it and they're like, oh, come on, it doesn't matter. And I think they totally agree with it. It's just we've got to go out and do it every night. And as I've said to you guys, it's hard. We're in a hard situation in terms of building habits. We can't do a lot of repetition in practice. We had guys playing 38 minutes plus last night, and so we're not able to do much today to build habits with a back-to-back coming out. So you got to be able to watch film, and then you just got to have a tremendous will to go out and do it, and a tremendous focus to do it right. And we're at the some of the time stage right now, and we've got to get a lot closer to all of the time to get to where we want to go.
Yeah, and on a different note, you tweeted your reaction to Lloyd Pierce losing his job out there in Atlanta. Obviously, as a coach of fraternity, you don't want to see anybody lose their job. But why do you think that news kind of hit you differently?
Yeah, that one hit me hard, to be quite honest, because I think last year, and I wasn't coaching, obviously, when they were headed into the bubble, but when the Coaches Association, got involved in the social justice work, and they got involved in it in a big way in terms of really soliciting a lot of people outside, to educate and things like that. And they were nice enough to include me in those calls. Lloyd was the leader in all of that. And I remember our first phone call, Lloyd just got very, very personal, telling his story and his experience as a black man in America. And I mean, it was moving and it was inspiring. I definitely to me, and I think to all of us there. And he just really emerged as our leader. And then he got involved in Atlanta, and what went on in the general election, and then the runoffs and everything else. And what I don't know Lloyd, or I didn't until those phone calls, but he is the one thing I know for sure. I watch his teams. I watched what he did in Philly as an assistant. He's a really good coach, and he's an incredible leader. He's someone we need coaching people. And so it hit me hard because I thought he was sort of our leader in what we did as a group, and you could see his natural leadership skills. And the league needs more people like Lloyd Pierce. And so it hit hard. I thought it was a bad day for our league and a bad day for our profession. And look, I worked with Travis Schlenk in Miami. I'm not lashing out at anybody, decisions, organizations make. I've been on that end of it too. So I wasn't trying to lash out at anybody in particular. I just thought, Lloyd's a guy we need in our profession. And I know as a group of coaches, we will seriously miss him, though I know he'll stay in